Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons!
West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining us, and please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your socials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon for alerts and new content. All these things are free. We don't get your bank details or anything like that. So please do that. Takes you a couple of seconds, helps to grow the channel. Thank you very much indeed for your support in this topic. We are here to discuss the game that took place yesterday, Ben, at Selhurst Park, where the mighty Irons came back from disaster, as some people thought it was last week, of 2-1 home defeat to Villa, and everybody lost their shit. We came up trumps against a very dangerous opponent in Crystal Palace, I thought.
Yes, mate. Yeah, afternoon, everyone. Mate, massively pleased to get 3 points on the board early doors in the season. Obviously, new manager coming in. It's good that he's now got three points and a win under his belt. Afternoon, guys. And mate, it wasn't a disaster last week at all. 2-1. It was a close nip and tuck game, but obviously, new first game season at home, new manager. And the defeat, well, it was disappointing, but it wasn't a disaster. And Palace, a tough place to go. And we got the 3 points and overall a good performance.
Yeah, I watched it from my chateau in south of France because, as we all know, watching a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff in the United Kingdom is illegal, and we on West Ham Massive do not endorse in any way, shape, or form transgressing the laws of the land. So I had to go and watch from my chateau in the south of France.
Very nice. Why have you never invited me?
It must have got lost in the post, dear brother. It must have got the invite. Must have got lost in the post. What can I tell you? But no, I mean, I watched it, and the first half I thought was. Well, let me backtrack. I'll tell you what. Let's start at the very beginning. Because I've obviously sort of like these little things sort of like scoped out. Let's get into it. And you guys that are in the live chat as we go along, and if you go latterly, you can put it in the comments. But guys, give us your thoughts on this. What were your thoughts, and what were your thoughts, Ben, on when you saw the starting 11s for both Crystal Palace and for our very own West Ham? And I will add that to the screen there. There are the lineups. What were your thoughts?
Probably in terms of the West Ham 11, probably a little bit underwhelmed as I was last week with the players that we've brought in, and feeling like we're playing the same old team as we were last season, even though we brought 7 new players. But I do rate Lopetegui as a manager, and I do think he knows what he's doing. So, I think we'll probably come on to it. He's made the subs. They've changed the game. I mean, in terms of the Palace team, mate, Palace are dangerous. You know what I mean? They've got a couple of lively strikers. They've got that young lad Wharton in the middle of the park who looks like he's a good ball player. Obviously, they've got Guehi. It's one of them places, Rob. You're going to have to go and graft to get a positive result, and I think that's what we've done in the end.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, and I mean, let's cover that off. So, my thoughts on the first half were well. I tell you what, let's sort of like slightly backtrack. My thoughts on the first half, the starting 11, excuse me, were probably the same as everybody else's. It's like, Jesus, it's the same team that got beat last week, and I'm not quite sure that I was in love with it. I'll be truthful, but now I sort of reflect back on it and go, like you. Look, he's not a mug manager. He's obviously won. He's managed Spain. He's managed Real Madrid. He's won the Europa League. This guy has been around the block, and he knows his stuff. And we're all sort of football managers, aren't we? We all sort of like sit there and say, oh, he should pick this player. He should do this formation. Blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, he's the guy that's sort of like paid the big bucks, and he makes the decisions. We obviously have our opinions on it, but the starting 11 for me, I was a little bit underwhelmed by. But in terms of the performance in the first half, and again, guys in the live chat, please feel free to jump in on this as we go, or if you're watching this after the fact, stick it in the comments. First half, now I did observe online there seemed to be a few comments saying that we were getting rinsed. I didn't see it like that. I really didn't. And when I looked at this, not just sort of like visually, I mean, in terms of the stats, the possession stats were fairly equal. The shots, I think we had a slight edge. The shots on target, they had a slight edge. So it was very nip and tuck. It was very. I don't think there was any team that when the first half whistle went and they all trudged off for their halftime oranges, I don't think there was any team that could really sort of like say that they had a significant advantage over the other. I thought it was fairly even and could have gone from that point, could have gone either way.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I was on the road for the first half, and I remember checking in at about 20 minutes in, and 20 minutes in, Rob, we had 60% possession against their 40.
Yep.
So we were, to start with, it looked like we was controlling possession. I know that having watched the highlights, I watched, in terms of my involvement in the game, I watched the second half, but I only see the highlights of the first half. I mean, obviously, Eze had quite a good shot that cannoned off the bar.
Yes.
So, you're always going to need a stroke of luck. If that would have gone in, the game could have been different, but it didn't. And then we moved into the second half and just took the game away from them, really.
Yeah, I mean, I see Adrian's comment there. I mean, I would say that the one area that they had a clear advantage over us, I think that the chances they created in the final third, I think they looked slightly more dangerous. But then we did have chances. We had a couple of corners that we sort of had half chances from. The Antonio sort of like on another day gets a touch on it, puts it past the goalkeeper. That wasn't yesterday. I understand that. But there was also a shot that Kudus had that he just put the wrong side of the post. On another day,
I see
he
that.
buries it. So I don't think that we got completely dominated. I don't think we got completely outplayed. I think in the final third of the pitch, yeah, they looked better than us. I'll concede that point, not a problem. Outside of that, I thought we more than held our own away from home against a team that, and let's not forget that Palace, they've got a good support at home. Say what you want about, the club, the support, whatever, their support is tip top. They would have been, and they obviously got the wrong end of the stick. They got the rough end of it last week against Brentford. I think they would have been quite wounded by that. They'd have come out yesterday trying to prove a point, trying to sort of get the 3 points off of us. Make no mistake, they weren't going to roll over and have their tummies tickled. So in that first half, they stood up to be counted. They made us. They kept us honest. They tested us. But then we obviously got in. I don't know what was said at half time. There was obviously no changes as far as we was concerned in personnel. But there did seem to be a very distinct shift, I would suggest, and you referenced it earlier about the use of the substitutions. He brought on, obviously, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and who else was it he brought on around about the 62nd minute? Was it Fulkrug? Fulkrug. And I think that certainly those two changes changed the course of the match for me. And what was your thoughts?
Yeah, mate, I think just give everyone a bit more energy. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka come on and pretty much, he didn't get the assist, but he pretty much created the first goal, didn't he? With a good burst down the right. Fulkrug, I can't say Fulkrug done loads individually, but it just seemed to me that we seemed to be more on top. and like, mate, goals change games, don't they?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, Soucek, Soucek is probably one that, with all the players coming in and the new manager and the new style, you could have been thinking Soucek might not be in the team. But I have to, you've got to analyse the two games, yeah. Now, Soucek is never going to be the most technical ball player,
No.
but he's won the penalty last week. He should have probably got an equaliser in the last minute, and he scored the opener here. I think, mate, he's worth his weight in gold. You know, you've got to, you've kind of got to build a team around him, if you know what I'm saying. In that, have the technical ball players around him, and just say to Soucek, you just find space in the box and finish. And that's what he's done. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, massive credit to him. And, you know, I hope that we see him in the team, and we can have the other ball players working around him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you're expecting Thomas Soucek to spray the ball around, 50, 60 yards, cross-field ball to the on-rushing winger, pie in the sky, you'll be lucky if he can do like a 10-yard pass. But that's, for all of his technical deficiencies in that regard, as you say, one thing he knows how to do for absolute certainty is cause problems in the opposition box, finish, and he works his socks off. He
Mate,
absolutely
yeah,
works his socks off. I mean, I
yeah,
saw the stats yesterday. He ran just under 11K and saved a ball boy from
yeah.
impending doom.
Well, mate, pretty much every game, he's top of that distance covered. You
Yeah.
know, he works his socks off. He gets his head onto the ball. He makes a few tackles and he scores goals. So, you know, really pleased with that. And then what can I say, mate? The second goal, um, I must have watched it 20 times. I just feel like it was a fucking beauty, simple as you like. Max Kilman, mate, the guy. Is there such a thing as an attacking centre half? Because I
I
think
think,
that's what he is, mate. I think he's
yeah,
fucking. I think he's fucking. You know, when he sees a gap, he has got the power and the pace just to fucking burst into it. And then the pass, the weight of the pass to Bowen was inch perfect,
hmm.
cut inside, and then sometimes you get the commentary just makes it even better. And the commentary, the way the guy just said, Bowen cuts him for two, bang, and it was just arrowed into the corner. And it was, you was hoping, like, there's 20 minutes to go. Can we just shut up shop? And we could.
Yeah. I think we also need to give an awful lot of credit with in terms of the substitutions, because obviously one of the things that Aaron Wan-Bissaka has had leveled at him is that he's brilliant defensive fullback. Very little gets past him. Going forward, not so much. But that opening goal came about because of a surging run from deep by Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who played
Mm,
Bowen in. Obviously, he's continued his run. It pinged about in the box. Paquetá, full Krug. It pinged about, dropped to Thomas Soucek, and he's buried it from there. But I think without Wan-Bissaka, that goal doesn't happen.
mm. No, I think you're right, Rob. But and also though, I think, look, it's a bit like a Lingard scenario, isn't it? It's like, I feel like being at Man United probably gives players a lot of weight and expectation and pressure. And I think maybe when he was there, he just thought, maybe I'll play it safe and just stay at home. Whereas
Mm.
playing for West Ham, he probably just feels a bit more relaxed, and he can go out there and fucking just be natural. And, you see very quickly that he could be a real asset in the team. Him and Bowen down that right hand side, worked well for the goal, and I hope that can be a good, relationship moving forward.
Do you think, and again, this is aimed at the guys in the live chat as well, and I know obviously you say you've only seen highlights of the first half and then obviously saw all of the
Mm.
second. Do you think that substitution of Wan-Bissaka coming on started to get the best out of Bowen? Because I do. I think that Bowen, for me, in the first game and until Wan-Bissaka was introduced yesterday, excuse me, I think he very much had half an eye on, well, I've got to try and give this fella a little bit of cover because defensively he ain't so clever.
Mm.
So it kind of restricted Bowen. When Bissaka came on, it seemed to me like he went, right, well, he's sorted, he's fine. I can just do what I want to do. And he
Yeah.
came into the game much more, I thought.
No, he did. He did, Rob. Like, and yeah, you're right. It was just up until that point, I thought Bowen's been quiet, and like
Mm,
you say, he was just doing his defensive work. But then obviously Bowen pretty much got the assist for the goal to a
yeah,
certain extent, and then scored. And I just think he just pops, like, especially the second goal. He just pops up in the right place. Do you know what I mean? And he'll, even if he's not playing great, he'll just keep making those runs, and who knows, something might fall to him, and it did. But yeah, I loved this celebration where he ran away and he pulled up the captain's armband a little bit, didn't he? I don't know if you
yeah.
see that. He give it the old yeah, and then done the knee slide, and I thought, yeah, that was just beautiful, mate.
He's pleased as punch to have that round his arm. You can see that, can't you? He's made up.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I hope that it's only going to make him a better player. Like, I think he can. Yeah, he's a goal scorer, mate, and it's good. It's nice to get the 3 points, but it's nice that he's off the mark pretty early in the season as well. And hopefully he can get 15, 20 goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, if I just move it on to the next question, Ben. So, what you observed, and you guys in the live chat, please get in with your thoughts on this. From each team, who were the star men? Who were the standout performers for you from both Palace and West Ham?
Um, Palace, from the highlights, mate, it looked like both Wharton and Eze both looked pretty decent. Do you know what I mean? Wharton was playing a few good passes. Eze obviously had the shot. He's always a threat. So they look like the star men for me from their point of view. But look, no, I don't really care who their star men were. They got beat and tough shit. Um, but for
You
me,
mean?
K- Kilman, mate, Kilman looked. I, I don't really like it when people describe people as this sort of player, mate. He looked like a fucking Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
That run, that surging run. There's not many centre halves out there that can turn the gas on and deliver a pass like that.
hmm,
And the fact is, we kept a clean sheet, which has been a problem for us. Well, it's always been a problem for us. It feels like.
yeah.
Um, and obviously, him and Mavropanos both done well. Mav done all right, but I just think for me, Kilman done his defensive duties really well. Got an assist, and obviously he was the star man for me. And Bowen, even though I think Bowen was fairly quiet, if you analyse the game, he's still got what I'd say a goal and an assist. So yeah, I'd say Bowen was up there as well.
Yeah, I think
How
I
about
looked
you?
on I looked on the Premier League website and the fan vote for the game yesterday had Bowen as the man of the match. I love Jared Bowen. He had a good input on the game. Once Wan-Bissaka come on, up to that point, I don't think he didn't shine.
No,
And as I say, I think there's a reason for that.
yeah,
But Kilman, mate, yeah, honestly, and I if people go back and look at streams that I've done in the past, they'll know that I've said that Max Kilman, I wanted him in maybe a year or two ago,
yeah,
and I know people turn around and say, "Oh yeah, but 40 million quid, it's a lot of money, and all the rest of it." And I'm not saying it isn't,
mm,
but I just come back to we're only going to know whether that was 40 million pounds well spent when his time at West Ham is done. Now,
mm,
an example of that, just to illustrate the point, I remember, and I'm sure you do, and there will be people that are watching this that when I say this will go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Is that when we sold Frank Lampard to Chelsea for, I think it was 10.75 million pounds, there was a
yeah,
lot of people, myself included, that went for Chelsea. They've had their trousers pulled down there. Bloody hell! Now you look back at what he did for them, and you go, mate, that was bargain of the century.
Yeah. No, but I think, look, Rob, I think Kilman he ticks a lot of boxes. Obviously, I think he's 26. He's English. He's quick. He's tall. He's a lump, and I just think we're going to get the best years out of him. He could easily be here for the next 5 years. And what I've seen so far, the Villa game, even though I think overall we were pretty poor against Villa, I'd have to say I think Kilman played well, and he was probably the best player for me last week, and he's been the best player for me this week as well. So it's a good start from him. Clean sheet, and look, both him and Mavropanos, they're both quite young still, but that's 2 games in, 1 clean sheet. It's the makings of a good little partnership. You've got to do it to Debo, that's not come here to sit on the bench. He'll probably get a game on Wednesday. So it's good that we've now got the squad, options that we can mix it up.
Yeah, I'd probably say, obviously, like I say, Kilman for me was our star performer, and I think, and Bowling Lounge makes a fairly pertinent point, is that probably part of it was down to the way we was approaching the game. I wouldn't say we was low. I don't think we was sort of like Stoke City or Wimbledon, but I take your point on board. Maybe that is part of the reason why, but I certainly think that he came into his own when Wan-Bissaka came on. And I've seen your questions, guys. I will get to them shortly. You guys that have put in questions, I will come to them in a moment. But yeah, I think obviously as far as Palace was concerned, if I had to sort of like say who was their standout performer, I'd probably say Eze. But he had that shot in the first half which hit the woodwork. He had another shot that was saved by the goalkeeper. He's a bright player, and there's still question marks as to whether he's going to be a Palace player once the transfer window ends. But that's really not my problem. I'd take him. I'd take him. We could have had him once upon a time, if you remember. He was the guy that was going to come in, and we didn't get him, and because he was at QPR at the time, if I remember rightly. Before he went to Palace, we were sniffing around, and we ended up with Saeed Benrahma. So, one that got away. Do you think the final score was a fair reflection on how the match panned out?
Yes and no, Rob. I think on reflection, we were the better side, and we took our chances, and they didn't. I think on another day, the Eze chance goes in. They hit the post in the second half. If it ended up as a draw, you probably couldn't have been too disappointed. But like I say, I think on the balance of play, we defended well, and just I would say, just about. I think we deserve to win it.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think we hung in there when it was a bit nip and tuck. We rode our luck at times, but I think that you need to have a little bit of luck at some. You're not going to go through a 90 minutes and not need a little element of luck in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
I'm not going to sort of like say, well, okay, we got lucky that it didn't sort of like hit the underside of the bar and come down over the line, and it's 1-0 and it's a different game. But, well, it didn't. It is what it is. And then I think once the changes were made, I think we certainly sharpened up from that point on. And we've now got a bench that if the manager sort of like gets the selection right and sort of like as evaluated the opposition and what they're going to do correctly, we've got a bench that can come on and change games now. Whereas last season, I would suggest you looked at the bench and went, oh, what the fuck have we got there that's going to actually sort of change it? Because if the 11 players that were selected can't do it, and we're looking at the 8 players on the bench and going, no. Now I think you look at the bench and you go, oh, we've got some, if it isn't working out, we've got some guys that can come on and change the game or just see us home, whatever the situation is. So,
and to be honest, Rob, I think we're bedding in a few of the players like Fulkrug. I fully expect Fulkrug to be starting in the Premier League fairly soon. You know, he's
Yep.
just easing him nicely. He was at the Euros. We bought him probably quite late in the summer. You know, let's be honest. Antonio, he probably will put a shift in, but he done nothing against Villa. I don't think he done fuck all yesterday. You know, he's not really. I know it's only 2 games in, but I just think as soon as Fulkrug's up to speed, he needs to be starting.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think the result will impact on our next match? Well, let me break it down into 2, because I would suggest there's obviously the match that's coming up, which is the Bournemouth game in the League Cup. But I just am interested to how you think it might affect the game after that, which is obviously the City match.
Um, I, I I don't necessarily think the previous game affects the next game too much generally, but I think it, going into the City game, if we'd have lost yesterday, we're going into City on 0 points, and the likelihood is we'd be coming out of that game with 0 points as well. So I think, you know, and all of a sudden, 3 games in, 3 defeats could be, you know, for the manager more than the team. All of a sudden, he's under pressure 3 games into a new job. But I just think it does make a big difference. We can go out there and just probably be a bit more relaxed. We're gonna have to defend well. We'll probably be under the cosh, but at least we've got 3 points on the board and we can move forward. And I think, you know, it gives the team confidence to go and think, well, actually, we can cause City a little bit of damage. Which I think we can.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Any final points you want to make before we wrap it up, bruv? I'll tell you what, actually, before you answer that, I'll tell you what, let me just. There were 2 questions,
Go for it.
but one of them I'm going to say, because he's directed this at me, but I'll push it towards you as well. I'm probably quite reluctant to drill down into this too much, Hammer89, because we've obviously got to do a preview for the City game. So if I tell you the answer to that now, it gives you no incentive to watch the Man City preview. So you'll have to watch the Man City preview, and then you will get the answer to that question. Is that fair enough? I think if I tell you now, I've kind of shot me bolt too early. Happens a lot, but what can I say? But Michael's put in a question. Would you drop Mavropanos for Jean-Claire Todibo?
It's a difficult one, mate. I think Todibo gets his start in the League Cup regardless. Do you know what I mean? So whether that is with Kilman or Mavropanos or whoever, Todibo needs to start. You know, there's 2 chains of thought. Is like, you know, if Kilman and Mavro are forming a decent partnership, but do you have to wait until you get beat just to change it when you think, well, if we'd have changed it, we might not have got beat? Do you know what I mean? Look, at the end of the day, Lopetegui's seeing him in training every day. It would be quite harsh, say for the City game, if Todibo was in when we've just kept a clean sheet. So I personally, I wouldn't drop him I wouldn't drop Mavropanos for the next game. We've just kept a clean sheet. He stays in the team.
It's kind of what Robert's alluding to there. Don't change a winning team. I think there's a grain of truth to that, but I think also I kind of think you have to. It's horses for courses, isn't it? Because I think if you've got a player that you know is with their skill set and whatever other factors you sort of put in your thinking is actually going to work better than another player, even if you've won your last game, I think you'd be foolish not to consider it. You know, I mean, I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. Is there a possibility that we're going to see 3 centre backs against Man City? I don't think that that's inconceivable.
No, that's a possibility. And I've got to be honest, Rob. I think you know, going on to when you said, is there anything else you'd like to say? I'm a little bit concerned on Paqueta's performances so far this season, Rob.
Kind of what I was alluding to when I said about going to a back 3 in actual fact, because I think if you, let's just suppose for a moment that the manager's thinking of going to 3 at the back and playing Kilman, Mavropanos, and Todibo as a back 3, because he played back 3 from what I remember at Wolves quite a bit. So we know he's got it in his locker. Who would be the sacrificial lamb? Now, for me, this would be really unpopular for some people, but for me, it's Paqueta.
Yeah, and to be honest, Rob, I feel like you can only judge it on performances so far, right? And I know we've only had 2, but I didn't even hear Paqueta's name yesterday. He was anonymous on what I see in the second half.
Yeah,
I think Guido was getting his foot in. Alvarez is back fit. Soucek's nicked a goal. So I think, for me, look, on paper, would we be better on the ball with Paqueta? Yes, but that's providing he's in the fucking game. If he's not in the game, then give someone else an opportunity. So I in terms of changes for the next game, I would be potentially looking to get Fulkrug in, and if he wants to bring Alvarez in, for me, Paqueta's the one that makes way at the moment.
Controversial.
Yeah.
But I mean, Michael's sort of agreeing. He says if we have to have a back 3, he needs to drop Paqueta. I don't think you can drop Soucek at the minute. And Scott says Guido was, I think he was much better than the first one. The first outing he had, where he seemed to have sort of concrete boots on. Today, and look, he's played in La Liga pretty much all his days, or certainly for the last sort of however long, with Betis. And the pace of football's quite a bit slower than the Premier League, so it might have been a bit of a shock to him in that first game.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I thought he was marked improvement from game 1 to game 2.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's only going to get better anyway. So look, we've got the options, but I generally trust Lopetegui. I think he's every week and every day he's going to be looking at the players in training and thinking, well, I know what this guy can do, I know what that guy can do, and look, we're off and running, 3 points, and let's be happy and move forward to the next game.
Absolutely. Right. Well, guys, those of you that have been watching, thanks for joining us. And as we always ask you to do before we all decamp and do our Sunday afternoon chores, please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell icon for alerts and new content. Remember, guys, all these things take you a couple of seconds. They're completely free to do, and we don't have any bank details or anything like that. So please, if you can do that, we can help grow this channel together. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Ben, thanks for your company as well. It's been an absolute delight to have you on, dear brother.
Nice one, mate. Thank you for having me.
No problem. We will see you next time. Until the Bournemouth preview, come on, you Irons. We'll see you next time.
Irons Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons.
West Ham are massive everywhere we go. West Ham are